We're back on the Exit 52 podcast, presented as always by Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Been an eventful couple weeks here in the Baltimore sports landscape. My name is Jake Louque. I am not here to talk Ravens. Sadly, I have not been able to put my thoughts out there on that one. Was kind of on the road for that loss. I feel like I compartmentalized it very quickly. I'm feeling good with how good, not good I feel about it, but feel good how quickly I've been able to move on, maybe I should say, and we'll have a full post-mortem out. I know Spenny did a really nice job kind of recapping the loss to Buffalo and everything, but we're planning on getting back in the studio to really do a full post-mortem on the 2024-2025 Ravens season. But with that all done and dusted, out of the way, potentially my favorite time of year to be a sports fan is just right around the corner, man. You can just feel it. You can feel the Jim Nantz of it all, with the Masters and March Madness coming up, but you can also feel the boys getting ready to head down to Sarasota. Thin Lizzy, the boys are back in town. My name is Jake Louque. I'm joined by 2 out of 3 Arditti. We're here to check in on some Baltimore Orioles and all the goings on there the last few months, some fun tidbits from around Camden Yards. But before we get going, how we doing, pal? It's been a little while since we've spoken.
I know, we're good. I kind of gave the group chat their room. Again, my football season's been over since about September 1st. I let you guys grieve, and rightfully so.
That was nice of you. Yeah, that was very nice of you.
I don't poke the bear too much. I just want these NFL award shows to come so I can collect my winnings for my Lamar MVP bet that I put in at the end of September because I know ball. Plus 1,100. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's we're going, and like you said, it's that like Jim Nantz has to this is his last week off. Well, I guess he's not doing Super Bowl, but
he does not a CBS Super Bowl year. This is kind of like when he starts to really get in the swing of things with the PGA Tour. It's Pebble Beach week, and he lives out there, so he just lives for the guys walking through his backyard and stuff, and walks out there and just kind of walks the grounds and stuff. So this is he's kind of, I would say, he's thawing out right now. If you were to have the Darth Vader or Han Solo, whoever's in the frozen carbonite, he's kind of it's starting to really slough off of him now, and he's ready to ready to start being Jim Nantz again, which is always great.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. No, I mean, I'm getting my fantasy baseball league reactivated. We already had someone try and claim Sasaki as a free agent. It's a dynasty league, so that was a big hubbub.
I'm getting word now that the Dodgers are actually not even in your fantasy league, but they've claimed him for that fantasy league. They got him. They're going to get Bregman. They'll just keep piling on.
Pretty much, probably. I will say this: I don't think they'll I saw a tweet the other day, and it was oh, the Dodgers signed Babe Ruth to a deal. I was that's not funny.
There's some people that I think are maybe they're still kind of maybe 5-10 years behind as far as their internet humor is. That feels like something you would see on MLB memes, in 2016.
Facebook. It's a Facebook meme where it's tried to call LeBron, but it didn't get any ring. It didn't ring. No rings. It's that's funny. Good stuff. No, I'm excited. We got the Caravan popping up this week. And it is funny. I was thinking about this last night. And again, I wasn't going to bring it up. But remember last year, a lot of people complained that the Caravan was during the AFC Championship weekend. Right. And everyone's how can the Orioles do this? Well, this year they waited until the in-between week.
Nothing against any of those guys that they were doing it with last year, but it kind of felt like the Orioles had the same mindset,
Oh yeah, it was definitely dumb, but it was a weird circumstance. But this year they waited and they put it in the in between week just in case, hat tip to the Ravens, and they didn't have to worry about that. But so I'm excited for Caravan. I'm going down to spring training this year. Everything is booked, so I'm pumped for that. What's funny too is we are leaving on 3/9/25. So Brandon Walker's.
When he joins, you'll be able to listen to his first Rewatchables episode when he joins.
But he made me my countdown clock for when I'm going to be there, so it's perfect. So I can just watch the yak if I need to see how long it's going to be till I get down there. But yeah, it's I'm very excited.
You've never been, right?
Never been.
That's surprising. I've never been either, but you're obviously a much more kind of dialed in Orioles fan than I am, just overall. I'd love to get down at some point, especially the time of year that it falls. Obviously, everyone knows spring training starts, starting up in February, just kind of that perfect time of year. I remember I interviewed Keith Mills for the pod like just I think like when COVID was still going on, like big time, like, yeah, man, I'm down here in Sarasota. Weather's looking real nut. I'm like, dude, Keith, I am so jealous right now. It's like it's COVID. I'm stuck in the house. There's snow and ice on the ground everywhere. He's like, yep, I've been there before, my friend. So I was like, yeah, that's tough for me.
And no one in Florida gave a shit about it. So it's like it was just full go down there.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's exciting. Are you how are we feeling about the plane ride?
Plane ride's fine. I'll be good with that. I'm over that. We're moving on to bigger and better things. Not scared anymore. It's Kevin McAllister. I'm not afraid anymore.
I mean, listen, I have done a little bit of traveling for my job that I joined, I guess, a year and a half ago at this point. Most recently, Mexico, as a lot of you guys listening might know. And I boarded a little bit of a shitbox SkyWest Airlines DBA United,
from what SkyWest Airlines is. That's
I didn't either. And we had to board. It was my first time boarding on the tarmac. We got, kind of paddle brought out onto the tarmac, and you walk up the stairs and you're kind of looking around. It's like this little shitbox airplane. And man, let me tell you, I was feeling every bit of the turbulence. That was for sure.
I don't think we're going to get that on the BWI to Sarasota nonstop, but I hope not. But yeah, that would not do well for me. That would not sit well, but no, I'm good. The plane ride's going to be fine. Maybe I'll read Moneyball this year. I don't know. I brought it to the beach one time and it got wet and I just haven't read it. It got all like crinkly and all that, so I haven't been able to read it, but I don't know.
Michael Lewis, people speak highly of him. I tried to read Liar's Poker and I just couldn't get that into it. I hear The Big Short's great. I mean, one of my favorite movies, so I could get myself into that. But yeah, I could read Moneyball. I did. We've been talking for years about Astro Ball too. I've been meaning to lend you my copy of Astro Ball.
That's what it is. Not Moneyball, Astro Ball. Yes. So, fun fact, do you want to know when I saw Moneyball for the first time?
Yesterday, if I had to guess.
January 22nd. It was the Lee Evans Billy Cundiff game.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's kind of right around when it came out.
Yeah, like I saw it. It was my birthday. We were at the PF Chang's in Towson. I almost flipped the table when he missed, because I was like, I don't care about the game. Let's go out. Let's go out for dinner. And there was nobody in the restaurant. It was awesome. Yeah. And then we went home and we watched Moneyball, and that was the last time I saw it.
So it's a good rewatch. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Brad Pitt. I mean, just great stuff. Aaron Sorkin, just all the heavy hitters. That really is a great movie. I watched that Lee Evans Billy Cundiff game with a repaired ACL on my couch. One of my worst sporting experiences of all time.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, absolutely. So what else is going on? How we doing here as things start to heat up in the Orioles side of things? It feels like you're thawing out a little bit too, honestly.
Yeah, I literally today, or like yesterday or whatever, when I texted you guys, I was like, all right, I'm kind of getting back into it. It's not 6 degrees anymore. Like I used to, like for the last 3 weeks, I was keeping my energy drinks outside, and that's how I was keeping them cold. And then today I was like, oh, it's getting a little warm for that. Like I'm better off in the fridge, but I was like, I'm feeling it a little bit. I'm like the bear coming out of hibernation. So I'm feeling good. I'm excited. I'm ready for baseball. We're getting all sorts of announcements and video game covers and things are, we're getting the truck day post yesterday by the Orioles. So, spring training's coming up and I'm excited for the year, even though it seems like a lot of people aren't. I'll gladly take your opening day tickets if you don't want them, if you're going to complain about them, and I'm pumped though. But yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, so we definitely have a little bit of a rundown to go over here, but I kind of want to, put a pin on that a little bit and dive into that. I can understand why people are feeling the way that they are. There feels like a little bit of a malaise here, especially in comparison to last year, where the expectations were sky high. You're coming off of a first 1 seed in, what was that, 10 years. And obviously the playoffs didn't go very well the year prior. But man, I couldn't remember the excitement being the way that it had for opening day of 2024 versus right now, where obviously we're not even to spring training yet, but things feel a little bit muted. I totally get it, but man, what a strange sort of turnaround, where a year ago at this time, Rubenstein's sale hadn't even officially gone through yet. I don't know if it was even announced by this point, as we're still here in January. Corbin Burns, I think, had yet to be traded for yet. So man, it just like, year ago at this time, like it was exciting. Then obviously a couple weeks later, it would launch into maximum overdrive. And then I don't know, man, it just like now it kind of feels night and day. And I kind of feel good about that. I kind of feel how good about how quiet things are. I'm curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, again, what did they win? 93 games last year, 92, I think, something like that. And
No way to,
everybody, and everyone, it's like it was a failure of a season. Obviously, they didn't win it all, and it sucks that they kind of, spun their tires in the playoffs and scored one run, but it's all about the expectations. Again, we went into last year being like, this is a World Series team. They have the pieces, and obviously the pitching fell apart due to injury. Some guys that you saw coming, some, that you didn't see. But yeah, I think it's all the expectations. Like, I'm looking right now on DraftKings. The Orioles have they're right around, they're the third best team in the AL, according to DraftKings. The Yankees at plus 850, Astros at plus 1300, and then the Orioles at plus 1400 to win it all. So, and then behind them, it's the Rangers at plus 2,500. The Orioles are arguably the second or third best team in the AL. Don't worry about the NL. I think everyone is kind of like we talked about. Dodgers and Mets, and they're going to do their thing. But again, I mean, the Orioles are they're in a very good spot right now. The Yankees, people want to talk. They did spend all that money on Fried and all these guys, but they did improve their pitching with Fried, but their hitting is not. They didn't do anything special there. I mean, the Orioles are still right there with the Yankees. I think the over-under on wins was like the Yankees were at like 93 and the Orioles were at like 90. That's one series. Like, it's not a big gap. So again, I get that people are down and they're like, oh, I don't even care about this season. It's a slap in the face, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, whatever, think that way. But the Orioles are going to be right there. Like, and like you were saying, like it's good that the expectations are lowered, I think, because you're not going to go into the season being like, if we don't win 100 games, what are we even doing out here? So yeah, I think lowered expectations are kind of a good thing for them after, last 2 years, they've been reading their press clippings and headlines and all that stuff and seeing their name in lights everywhere. Maybe it's a good thing that no one's going to be talking about them really going into the season, but I still think, low 90s win, that could easily win the division. All it takes is a couple injuries with the Yankees and they're chasing the Orioles. I mean, again, the Orioles lost the division by, I think, 2.5 or 3 games last year. It's not like people are very, very down and out, and I don't understand it, but I do think some of it is like a Ravens hangover where it's just kind of piling on and they're just like, nothing will ever go right in my life. But again, I think the expectations being lowered is kind of a good thing for the Orioles, and not that they're going to sneak up on anyone. No, no one's going to be like, oh, watch out for this guy, Gunnar Henderson. Like, he's my sleeper, in the draft or whatever. But again, the expectations, we didn't have them for 25 years. And now that we do, it's kind of ruined people's lives. But yeah, I think, going into the season, I think they're sitting in a good spot.
Yeah, I think, I love what the Yankees did for them. I mean, just to be very clear, but I think they were more kind of ceiling raising moves where, you get a Fried, obviously that's huge. The kid from the Brewers, was it Devin Williams?
Devin Williams, yeah, that's a good pickup, yeah, for their bullpen, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know. I think they should still be the favorite within the AL East, but it kind of felt like to me they were sort of recreating Soto in the aggregate, trying to raise that ceiling to make it so that they could go on and win the World Series. Even with the moves that they have done, it's hard to feel like even if you get there, it's going to be even plausible that you could win it with all LA continues to do. And that's difficult. It kind of reminds me, if you look at the NFL, like I know this very well as a fan of one of these teams that has one of these top 4 quarterbacks, all of them, of course, residing within the AFC. And then there's one big dog in his own tier that is virtually impossible to get through right now. It kind of feels like that. If you're an NL fan, like, how do you feel like you're even supposed to get to the World Series? And then if you're in the AL, it's just like, okay, can we get there? And then can we create magic over a 7-game series against the Dodgers? Weird dynamic. When they signed Suzuki, I might have said something a little out of pocket in the group chat about how Rob Manfred needs to have the courage to do what needs to be done and implement a salary cap. Something that Uncle Dave Rubenstein apparently is also in favor of. We'll see if his word is heard at the top of MLB offices. I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. But yeah, overall, it just feels like I'm kind of right there with you that I think with this, quote unquote, it's not a young core anymore, Ebo. It's a core now, the Orioles core. I feel like if they, things break right for them, they stay healthy, Adley finds himself. I feel like you're right. Yeah, I think you're bang on that. You could probably approach low to mid 90s wins, maybe more than that if things continue to break right. And ultimately, like, I think we might have gotten myself chief among them might have put the cart ahead of the horse there, that they hadn't even won a playoff game yet. And I was talking about them potentially ALCS contenders, pennant contenders, maybe win a World Series last year. They just weren't quite there yet. I think that again, I understand people's frustration with that too, with how long this rebuild has taken. So you totally get where anyone is coming down on, and you don't want to tell anyone how to fan, but just overall, I do like the fact that things feel a little bit more muted. There is still time to make moves. Like I mentioned, the Burns move had not happened, within this time frame last year. And I guess that can take us into sort of the run sheet that we put together here for some of the moves. We'll get into Michael King. We'll get into Dylan Cease, whose names are being floated around by the Padres. But obviously, the Orioles officially do lose Anthony Santander to the Blue Jays, which I know was a dagger to the heart of a lot of us, myself included, yourself, obviously having met and hosted an event with him. He's a guy who meant a lot to us, so that really sucks to lose him. Not only lose him, but then to a division rival. I hated to see that.
Yeah, it was, again, I think everybody kind of knew it was coming, and I was seeing people like being like, how could this happen? And it was like the writing was kind of on the wall. We talked about it, I think, on here, or I talked about it on some podcasts, but the Orioles don't have a lot of room on their position players. There's a couple, there's some spots maybe in the rotation and the bullpen, but the position guys, those are kind of set. Once they signed O'Neill, I mean, and then like yesterday they signed Dylan Carlson, but and not people being like, oh, this is how they're going to replace him. And it's like, no, but once they brought him in and for what they're paying O'Neill, there's no spot unless there's a trade that's going to happen where Santander could have come back and gotten at bats. And again, if they're going to pay him $92.5 million or $100 million or whatever, I mean, it's pretty obvious that whatever market Santander thought he was going to get 2 months ago, it wasn't there. And again, there's a reason. If you look at the Blue Jays, if you think the Orioles have had a bad offseason, go read some of the Blue Jays tweets and their Twitter, because they were second on Sasaki and they just missed out on Ohtani and they just missed out on, Soto, and they just missed out on this guy and blah, blah, blah. They are the absolute silver medal kings. Like they have, I mean, Santander is their only really big move. And again, I love the guy. Like you said, I met him. His personality was the most infectious thing in the world. He was a great player last year. I don't know how well that contract is gonna. I don't know how it's gonna look in a couple years. I mean, I don't know. All his numbers were down except for RBIs and home runs. I mean, he wasn't a great hitter. You look at his average; he's not great. Doesn't get on base that well. They had to overpay for him, and they did. There's a reason. Again, Toronto has to overpay everyone. Kevin Gossman got twice the amount. His offer from Toronto was twice the amount that anybody else had offered him. So again, it's like weird stuff with their taxes up there. I think who's the redhead? Justin Turner? No, Josh Donaldson and somebody else are like suing the Canadian government because their taxes got messed up. Nobody wants to play there. And it's
not going to be a problem anymore with it being the 51st state soon enough. So
yeah, but whenever that happens, I'm sure that'll all get cleared up. But yeah, I mean, nobody wants to go there. And again, they're offering him. I mean, they offered him plenty more than I think anybody else was. And there's a reason for that. And again, I'm happy for him. It's going to be his one big contract, $92.5 million. I think it was like 67 deferred or something like that. Like, go get that money, Tony. I hope you nothing but I wish you nothing but the best, not against the Orioles, but I wasn't like, oh man, this is what a bummer. Like it is going to suck not having him, but I don't think it's going to be like, man, if we had Tony, this season would be different. It's not, again, we saw him make the stumbling plays in the outfield and stuff, but he's a fan favorite. He'll come back and he'll be in the Orioles Hall of Fame, but I don't think that's a big loss. I think with the platoon in right field, that's going to be O'Neill, who's going to play a lot, and then Kjerstad. Hopefully those two can combine for 100 RBIs and 44 home runs. I think they will. But our friend of the program, Buster Olney, was talking about. He was saying, he was like, I would not be surprised if the Blue Jays say they start the year bad, they fire their bum manager. And then he says, Bo Bichette's a free agent. Vladdy Jr. is a free agent. If they start out bad, he's like, they could be looking to move those guys because they've tried to re-sign both of them. They've got nothing going on either of them. They could trade those guys by the deadline. And then he said, who knows? They could be looking to trade Santander too. Like they can figure out something with the money. So again, that's going to be a weird situation up there. But yeah, losing Tony stunk. And my man, Brandon, the interpreter, it stinks for him. His tweet was great. But yeah, it's, adieu to Tony. We'll wish him well when he's not playing here, or when he's not playing the Orioles. But I don't think it was the biggest loss, and it sucks more on like a clubhouse personality line than it does like how are we going to replace this guy?
Yeah, it truly is. It really is Animal House now. Yeah, it's all the frat boys have grown up, and you kind of lose that Latin flavor with Tony, which sucks. You'd like to get a little bit more of a little bit more diversity necessarily in there. I'm kind of kidding, obviously, but it does suck to lose him. In a lot of different respects. But I think you're right that he's an aging player. It's a little bit of lightning in the bottle with the last couple of years, but for the record, I still think he could, at the very least, have a great kind of designated hitter type career, whatever they want to do with him, and then. Obviously, it kind of, you mentioned like the Blue Jays, the Toronto bridesmaids, they're in on all these big guys and they wind up signing elsewhere. And this kind of like, to me, felt like, I don't know if I'd call it a panic move, but it's like, shit, man, we've been in on everybody. We got to sign somebody. 5 years.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, oh shit, we have to get somebody. Let's throw 90 million at Santander. Again, he's going to take it and he should. It's going to be his one big payday. But yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was kind of like a panic. Well, I mean, could you imagine if they didn't sign him and going into the season and making 0 major moves? I mean, that would, again, their fan base, they're already like crumbling, but yeah, that would have been a nightmare. So that's exactly what I think that was. Again, I wasn't shocked at all that he didn't come back. I think anybody who was like, how could they not re-sign him? I think you were just kind of being naive there. It's kind of like the Burns thing. I think everybody kind of knew he wasn't coming back. And then when he did, people were like, losing their minds. Meanwhile, the Orioles offered $50 million more than the Diamondbacks did. So I know that for a fact, like $50 million more. Nothing you can do there. But the people who were like, oh my God, how did we not get him? It's like, well, we knew he wasn't coming back. And again, once they signed O'Neill and there was just too many position guys, it was kind of written in the stars that he wasn't coming back. So I don't know why anybody was shocked there. I think everyone was kind of just living in la la land and being like, oh yeah, we can get him back. We can make this move. So
it also feels like, it's put up or shut up time for some of these younger names too. You look at a Heston Kjerstad who has been talked about going back all the way to, quote unquote younger. Yeah. He's, probably about my age at this point, but that's not true. But yeah, I mean, like we were talking about him as this potential replacement going all the way back to last year when Tony's contract was a talking point. Even then, can you step up? Tyler O'Neill, can you be that guy? So it does feel like we're pretty much at that position now where it feels like put up or shut up for some of these prospects. And I think with the way that offseason has gone so far, it does kind of feel like, hey, you're going to have to figure out what some of these young guys have got. And shit, if they don't have it, you better be ready to try and spend, next offseason. Because it feels like even, similar to Toronto, it feels like they've tried to spend this offseason. You mentioned Burns. I think they've been on some other guys and just has not worked out. And yeah, again, still plenty of room to make trades, which, that can lead us into the next talking points that we have here. Obviously, starting pitching remains a bit of a concern. Grayson, I think, kind of assumes the mantle a little bit, him or Zach Eflin, of your opening day starter, but obviously there's been issues with Grayson's health. I think Eflin, I'm really not too concerned about him. Dean, we saw some struggling moments, but I thought overall he was a net positive last season. And outside of that, I think you were sort of stitching it together with Suarez and Povich and guys like that last season. Are those kind of going to be your focal points, or are you going to try and do what you did last season or last offseason, Mike, where you trade for a big name? And obviously there's been Dylan Cease has been linked to the Orioles going back to when he was with the White Sox. Could they go ahead and trade for that kind of thing, or that kind of, big name type player? Or Michael King, also on the Padres, who has been thrown out there as a guy who has been placed on the trade block. 2024 with San Diego, 13-9 record, 2.95 ERA, and a 1.19 WHIP. Cubs have discussed trading for him, just for what I'm seeing on Google here, the first results. But him, Cease, kind of how do these guys sort of tickle your fancy?
I mean, I think they're both exactly what you look for. The only thing you don't like is that they're both free agents after this year. I know Cease is a Boris guy. I don't believe King is. I don't. He may be. I don't remember. But again, it's like if you do that, you got to sign one of them, because the rumors that I've seen were possibly linking those two together and shipping them to the Orioles or somebody, but a trade package that could include Kramer, a McDermott, a Bradfield, a Heston. for Michael King and Cease. The Padres, I don't know if you're really paying attention, if baseball fans are, they have got some disgusting stuff going on with their ownership. It's getting very ugly. Jurickson Profar talked about it in his press conference, where he literally came out and was like, yeah, it's ugly with ownership there. I think the owner died last year, and his wife is now saying that the brothers of the owner are trying to like move the team and do all this. So it's getting very nasty. They're looking to shed payroll and stuff like that. So again, this is where you can kind of, hold their feet to the fire and be like, hey, we'll take these guys off your hand. But I don't know how big the package is going to be. And especially if they're both expiring contracts at the end of the year, you would hope to re-sign one of them, because again, then we're just back in the same song and dance next year being like, oh, well, we just traded, some top guys for a pitcher who is a Boris guy who's a free agent now. We know how this song and dance is going to go. So I would love either and or both of them. Michael King is incredible. I think he's really, really good. He's very fun. We saw him with the Yankees, and he went over there in the Soto trade. And then Dylan Cease has been, he's been a pretty damn good pitcher, even when he was on that bad team in Chicago. But that's kind of the packages that I've heard. Those names going around: Povich, Kramer, McDermott, Bradfield, Heston. So I don't know however you want to mold that and make a trade package out of it. I don't know. I mean, I would be a big fan of either one. Jared Jones up in Pittsburgh as well. I think he's a name to keep an eye on.
That would be sick. Yeah, I mean, that would just be pure concept.
That would be fun. Mitch Keller, he signed an extension a couple years ago. So I don't know. I mean, if they want it, like you said, I think the Burns trade was sometime right around the end of January last year. So things can still happen. Hell, Adam Jones and Chris Tillman were traded in February. Just because the season's coming up, I mean, trades can be made. So there's a couple names out there, but those are kind of the guys that I'd keep an eye on: King, Cease, Jones. But yeah, I mean, if not, then I think you're going to look at. I think the rotation is still a playoff rotation the way it's lined up right now. Grayson, Eflin, Kramer, Sugano, Charlie Morton, Povich, McDermott, like they have arms, and they're going to need these arms, because again, we saw last year how many guys went down, and Tyler Wells will be back. Kyle Bradish, it kind of like last year with Kyle Bradish. If I'm a betting man and the number of pitches thrown for Bradish this year is 0.5, I'm hammering the under. I think anything you're going to get from him is just found money, and it's I'm not putting any eggs in his basket really. Again, anything he gives us is icing on top. But again, I think that rotation is a good rotation. I think their bullpen is going to be much improved, obviously with Kittredge now in the mix, with Felix back, and again, everyone is kind of slotted back into their proper role, as opposed to last year where it's like, do Kimbrel. Okay, no, we can't do Kimbrel tonight. Do this guy, do Cano, do Aiken, blah, blah, blah. So I think the bullpen being more steady will obviously help the rotation. But like you said, Suarez is another guy. That's 8 or 9 guys that we've just named for rotation spots. So they've got arms, and they've got pieces to trade for other arms if they need to. So it just kind of, and I know that, again, people don't want to hear this. They don't have to believe it either. Like I got told, somebody was like, I know that they're not trying to make a trade for anyone. They weren't trying to sign Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman was almost signed. He was this close to being signed before.
I think they were trying to sign him, and then it didn't check out. But I mean, it came out after.
No. According to Be More Lover 420 Lamar fan for life, that the Orioles faked that offer because they're cheap. So they don't want to spend money, but they want to lie to the fans.
Why are these hypothetical people never like a psychopath like you, where they're an Orioles fan and then a fan of another NFL team? Why does it? You're always taking shots at my Ravens and my Ravens fans, my Lamar Lover 420s. I love these.
Because they've become sports fans of Baltimore in like 2019. That's why. And then they made the date made on Twitter, August 2019. With 43,000 tweets or something like that, and 11 followers and a check mark. But no, that's seriously what some guy told me. It was like, I don't think the Orioles offered him anything. I think they made up their offer to make it seem like they were into it. And it's like, if that happened, nobody would ever sign with the Orioles ever. Like that does not happen. It's not a thing. But
do you think Grant Balfour was a crisis actor?
Yeah, exactly. And then guess what? Grant Balfour had like a 5 ERA after that. So again, good luck to Jeff Hoffman. He almost came up. I was tweeting to Jeff Hoffman in like 2015 because he was the guy who was going to be the compensation for Dan Duquette getting traded to Toronto when he wanted to leave after the 2014 season. So Jeff Hoffman and I go way back. So it almost happened. It was legitimately this close to happening. But again, they're trying. I know that they talked to Sasaki a lot. I know they were in on him. He just, again, I don't know why you wouldn't go to LA, but again, people don't want to hear it. They gave him an A+ presentation. So I don't know what to tell you there, but again, they can make moves and I wouldn't be shocked if they do. And even if they don't, I think this is a playoff rotation. Again, I mean, I'm looking at the wins and losses. I mean, division winner for the AL East or for the American League, the Orioles are plus 550. The Yankees are plus 300. Like the AL East, Yankees are plus 115. The Orioles are plus 230. It's not like they're plus 600. Like they're right there. I mean, I think people are, again, like you said, we're not going to tell people how to fan, but I understand why they're down. But this team is still going to be very, very good. And barring, a boat crash or a bus accident with half the guys on the team, they're going to win a lot of games and they're going to be in a lot of games. They've owned the Yankees the last 2 years. Like it's going to be okay. You don't have to be all, we're going to win it all right now, but you can be excited about this team. It's okay. Like I promise you, it's okay.
Yeah. If I could recommend maybe, if you find yourself kind of doom scrolling on X a little bit for whatever reason the last couple of months, maybe give yourself a little break from that. I've been kind of microdosing that the last, maybe year or so when things are maybe not good with my teams. And it does kind of pull back your perspective a little bit. It's not like this day-to-day, minute by minute, Orioles missed on this guy. That it's just like, give yourself the bigger picture. The fact that they still have a very talented roster. Hyde kind of is what he is at this point. I think he has his positives. He has his drawbacks. People will harp on that. I totally understand it. Elias is, I think, a great talent evaluator. Maybe it remains to be seen as far as acquiring free agents, but overall, that might just be an MLB problem. That might be a Baltimore problem, in that you just kind of can't totally match up with whether it's the Dodgers or the Yankees or whatever these other clubs have to offer, which is just a real kind of kick in the dick as a sports fan. But, until Daddy Dave Rubenstein is proposing we get some kind of salary cap or Manfred does something drastic, it's just kind of the reality that we're facing, sadly. So, yeah, I mean, plenty of time to still make moves to be made out there. And, yeah, I mean, they didn't sign the Crochets of the world or whoever it is, which tough to see him in Boston, tough to see Fried go to New York, but that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And overall, yeah, like I said, still kind of feeling pretty optimistic as we move forward. One reason to feel optimistic, you mentioned Adam Jones being kind of a late acquisition there. He has officially joined the organization in the role of advisor to the general manager and community ambassador. You wrote down here that he helped with the Tomoyuki Sugano trade, or signing, I should say. Elias said that he signed off on it, which I find really interesting. And I think really great. That's one thing that I think Elias deserves a lot of credit for. Like Adam's relationship with this club, I think it's well publicized, was not great after his exit. He went over and played in Asia for a little while. He's been retired, and it's been a couple of years process to sort of repair things. I think the new ownership, the new front office, they've really wanted to sort of bridge that gap and kind of bridge the gap between this current era that began circa 2018 and the era of Buck Showalter, sort of beginning in earnest in 2011, 2012. Up through probably about 2016, sort of bridging those two gaps. And those players who, they didn't win a World Series or accomplish a whole lot in terms of winning trophies or pennants or anything like that, but they mean a lot to Orioles fans of a certain age. So very cool to see, and very cool for Adam, who I know you're relatively close with, and obviously a good dude. You and I got to go out to him and Uncle Jerry on the Adam Jones podcast. We got to go see that live show, which was great. Got to spend a few minutes there with Adam after that before he pieced out with his entourage, which was sick. Talking to Jerry a little bit, who's had a banner couple of weeks on the Everything app with Buffalo, the City of Losers comments. I know we've been kind of talking with him behind the scenes on that. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, that means, it means that, Adam's going to have an even more central role in the organization, which I think is great. Does that mean he's moving back stateside officially? Do we have any word on that?
He is not. He will be staying in Barcelona. I think that was part of the, he's not going to uproot his family and come back. I mean, why would you want to leave Barcelona? Or Barcelona?
Barcelona.
But no, I mean, I'm very happy for him. A little birdie kind of whispered this in my ear a couple of weeks ago, to be on the lookout for it. And, you know, it was awesome to see. I'm very excited for him. And like you said, I mean, them kind of bridging the gap. The old owner, you know, when Angelos was here, you were like, I know people who worked in the warehouse who had a picture of them and Trey, or, you know, a picture of them and Manny, you know, in their office. And they were told to take the picture down. Like, they're not here. You cannot have that picture up in your office. That that person cannot be mentioned. And again, it's crazy. I'm praying and praying and praying, and I cannot wait. I am going to cry when I read the article, that the Dan Snyder article that we all got this weekend.
Oh my God.
When we get the John Angelos article about that, where like he's living in Greenland, or he's living in the Philippines or something, and he's so fucking mad, and he goes to these bars and pubs and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't wait for that, because he was the one who, again, is keeping this stuff at, like, you weren't allowed to. We saw it with Kevin Brown. You can't talk about those guys. They're not here anymore. Like, that's dumb. It's, you know, it's history. It happened. They're here. They're part of this franchise. And like you said, those guys on those teams, the J.J. Hardys, the Nick Markagises, the Chris Davises, the Chris Tillman, the Brian Mattises, the Britton, the O'Day, Adam Jones, those guys were a lot of our listeners, the people watching now. They were a lot of the first winning teams that they saw in Baltimore. So some of the fans had never seen a winning team until 2012.
You remember that 97 season, right? Like, a little bit, you know,
I went to the 96 ALCS with my dad. He got hit in the glasses with a Darryl Strawberry foul ball. Like, I remember that's one of my earliest, like, sports memories, was feeling Camden Yards shaking, like literally shaking during the introductions in the ALCS.
And like you and Brian, you're not that much older than me and Spenny, but like, I was born in 95. I don't have any memory of that stuff. So these were the first teams that really meant anything to me with the Orioles. I mean, like, I moved to South Carolina in, like, you know, end of 01 maybe, and I was there probably through the end of 05. So I get back in 06. Like, I had like almost no relationship with the Orioles during those years. They were bad, for one thing, and two, it was before a time that you could really like stream your favorite team from out of town and all that stuff. So, you know, you get back at right. I'm still struggling through that as I'm approaching 30 here. But yeah, I mean, it didn't. The Orioles didn't hold much of a place in my heart up until, you know, Buck comes to town, and all. It's kind of like, wow, this guy, you know, he manages the Yankees, and like a very, you know, high profile guy to an extent. Doesn't really act like it. Doesn't put on airs, but you know what I'm saying. Like, he had a resume as a coach, and that was kind of like my first sign of like, man, I really want to like try to sit down and put an effort into following these teams. And that was a fruitful one, because you mentioned guys like Adam and Tillman, another guy who I don't think should be forgotten in history, an awesome player, Chris Davis. Really glad to see people kind of coming back around on him. I think he got kind of a raw deal, and how he was treated by some fans to begin with. I mean, you know, the guy struggled. He didn't want to be struggling. He's, you know, had issues with his, I think, ADHD and all that. It's just like just a good dude who was put into a shitty situation, I think. Nice to see them embracing him. Trumbo, you mentioned Brian Mattis. May he rest in peace. I don't think we've talked about that. Just super tragic situation. But I mean, you look at something like that, and it's like, man, that's kind of a marker that we're all getting a little bit older, and those teams that we look back very fondly on, they're getting further and further in the rear view. And, you know, I'm a big nerd about history and all that stuff, and I don't think that should be forgotten. So I'm really, really pleased with the fact that they're bringing Adam back into the fold, not only in the way that they've done recently, but in an official capacity, and saying like, hey, your opinion means something to us. And I think that says a lot. And I think that's a credit not only to Elias, but to Rubenstein, like you said, where it's not like a North Korea situation where we've got to have, you know, pictures of Peter and John Angelos on the walls everywhere instead of you know, former players who actually did something on the diamond for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when you nailed it when you said, you know, that they value his opinion, and Adam said that, and he said, you know, I've been tweeting my thoughts out of, you know, about baseball and the Orioles to the world. Like, why not do it to Mike, you know? And that's what he's going to be doing. And no better person to do it. I mean, the guy, he said it. He's like, I bleed baseball, and that's all he wants to do is help. And I think he's going to be awesome at it. I can't wait to see, you know, I'm hoping to link up with him down in spring training. I know he's going to kind of, like I said, come back and forth, but yeah, I mean, I was pumped when I saw it. I'm hoping that more stuff like that is going to happen. I know he's still trying to play, but I would love to see Trey come back and do something, retire. I was talking to somebody. I was like, could you imagine if he comes back and retires on Mo Gabba Day? In I think it's in July. But that would be so awesome. And again, it's this kind of a cultural shift, but this isn't just like we're going to give Adam a handout. Again, the guy, 4-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, 5-time All-Star, 1-time Silver Slugger, I believe. So he knows his shit. Why would you not want Enrique Bradfield to listen to him? Why would you not want a Cedric Mullins to be in his back pocket and stuff like that? So yeah, I was very excited about that. I know they had the press conference this morning, and good week for him. He got 3 votes for the Hall of Fame too. So he didn't get shut out. He got 3. He's not going to be on the ballot next year, but I think getting three votes is awesome. Congrats to him, and it's a pretty cool. His lifespan and life cycle in baseball is a pretty neat one. So I'm anxious to see him during the season and how this all turns out.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see. And I mean, the fact that he's impacting like actual transactions with the fact that he helped with the Sugano signing, that's pretty big too.
He, again, when I played golf with him 2 years ago at the Jimmy's tournament, this was before Yamamoto. He was like, dude, Orioles got to give this guy $300 million right now. He's like, he's not even posted yet. He's like, this guy's a freak. Like, obviously everybody over there knew about him. Nobody stateside really knew about him, but he was like, they got to go get this. Like, somebody's going to get an absolute stud in this guy. So yeah, I mean, again, all he did was read scouting reports and play against them. Like, he knows what he's talking about. So if Adam is like, that's a guy who still has stuff, why would you not believe him? He saw it firsthand. He's been in the batter's box. He knows exactly what he's talking about. So yeah, I thought that was very neat. And again, he wasn't even working for the team yet. That was what, a month ago, I guess, that they signed him probably. But, again, he wasn't officially on payroll, and Elias was already hitting him up. So good for them for realizing, hey, we have something here. And Adam is he's a good piece of information, and he can help us out.
Yeah, definitely winning a bit of the PR battle on that front, which I think they've struggled with at times with, the last year or so, with, kind of some of the stuff that has gone on as far as missing out on free agents or whatever. But also I think in terms of sort of what has gone on with memberships and sort of the, Birdland members and all this kind of, it's sort of the business side of what goes on at Camden Yards a little bit has been tough. I think we did like to see this, which is the new Birdland value menu, which was announced recently. Going through it a little bit. I love this kind of stuff, and I love to see this because I think we have a lot of fun with Camden Yards and the 40-ounce beers that cost $50, all that kind of stuff. And if you spend a lot of time in the sort of the Coors Light roof deck situation, which I know obviously we do and a lot of other people do, it can get a little pricey at times. So it was good to see the Birdland value menu announced. In terms of your food options, all $4 are the all beef hot dog, pretzel bites with cheese, cinnamon pretzel bites with cream cheese icing.
Those are going to be fire.
They are going to be good. The nacho chips and cheese, also $4. Popcorn, $3.50. Peanuts, $2.50. Packaged dessert, $3. I wonder if that includes the ice cream in the future, with the Dippin' Dots there. And then as far as your bev options, you got a 16-ounce refillable soda cup for $4. 16.9-ounce bottle of water is $4. Good let's keep the water as that's
great. That's fantastic. And yeah, that's a good move. Keep going.
Keep that as low as possible. NA beer for 12 ounces, $5. Select beers, 12 ounces, $5. So there solves my my 50-ounce, $60 beer situation. I can just get a regular beer for a regular price of $5, which I'm fine with. 12-ounce seltzers for $6. I just know you're fired up about this, just like I am.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, people forget you can still bring food in. Like, you can still do that. You can still bring in your waters. You can bring in your Coca-Colas. You can bring in your Subway, Chipotle. What's that banner? Is he with the banner or the sun? The guy who brought in the bag of spaghetti, and his name is like Giacomo. Oh, I gotta find this guy's name. You look it up real quick while I'm talking. But the guy who brought it in, he has an incredible name. And he's a reporter for the Sun or the Banner. He brought in spaghetti in a plastic bag a couple years ago. But this is a big one, and this is the brainchild of one Katie Griggs, who was hired maybe halfway through the year last year, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Who is she? There was an article on her. She graduated from, I think it was NC State at like 18 or 19 years old. She's very, very smart. Obviously she is but this is her brainchild. She got a job with the Falcons and, is it FC Atlanta? Is it, I don't know, their MLS team. But you see their game day where they have the flares, and it's very like European soccer, like in the Mercedes-Benz not Superdome, but the whatever they call it, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
She was in business ops with the Mariners too. She was the president of business ops for them.
Yep.
Led efforts to improve the fan experience at T-Mobile Park. And I think that's part of the reason I mentioned specifically kind of a little bit of a PR turnaround in that aspect, because I think when she took over, it's when some of these controversial, like hiking the prices on memberships and that kind of stuff came up. So it's good to see that this is kind of bearing fruit in this way.
Yeah. Again, this was her brainchild. This is, everybody creams themselves every, like the first September, the first NFL week 1. And they're like, oh my God, look at these prices in Atlanta. This is crazy. Or it's always like the first college football game there. Like, look, you can get a Chick-fil-A sandwich and nuggets and a drink and a milkshake for $9. And again, it goes viral every year. It's just like the Masters. Yeah, this was her. This was her. And you mentioned Seattle. Remember the falling hot dogs last year where they would drop? Guess who came up with that idea? This is her. So again, you're going to start seeing stuff like this and stadium experience begin to improve. Not that it was necessarily bad, but again, this is kind of stuff that she was working on. And so, I had a buddy who was like, I'm going to be all over Rubenstein if the beer prices stay the same. And I go, well, they've hired someone. It's not his call anymore. And he was like, well, it's still his call. And I was like, no. Like, this is not John Angelos anymore. Like, if he hires someone to do a job, they're hired to do that job. And this is her job. So this is what we're going to see. And again, I don't think anyone's going to complain about it. Obviously, it's not everywhere throughout the ballpark. It's going to be at a couple different locations. I think it was like section 17 I saw. They're all on the upper deck and then the lower concourse. There's none on club level or anything, but there's going to be plenty of them available. So I'm pumped. I'm excited for it. Giacomo Belloni. Incredible, right?
Talk about a guy who's going to be bringing in a spaghetti bag. I mean,
it's incredible. It's a great name because he tweeted, he wrote an article about something a couple of weeks ago.
Also, this is a little bit of a Sunday sort of truce being brokered with the Sun and the Banner coming together. Shout out to obviously Slim Charles and
Bloods and the Crips holding the
the Sun and the Banner. So
holding the
from the Banner and Giacomo Belloni from the Sun bringing in their Ziploc bags of spaghetti in 2022.
I think they did it last year too. He did something like this. I think he does it every year, but
that's sick.
Yeah, so Giacomo, you can still do that. You can still bring in your linguine or elbow pasta or whatever in a plastic bag. But yeah, I mean, it's a great move. I don't know. We have to, this is a podcast for another day, but we have to start normalizing stuff like this. Like a water at an airport being $9 is crazy. And just because, again, you're in CFG Arena, at Disney on Ice or whatever, like a beer shouldn't be $15 just because of where you are. It's crazy.
I had 3 Modelo's at just a random bar in IAH in Houston the other day. You want to guess what my subtotal was? 3 Modelo's.
Like $4.30. You probably left a $10 bill and said, keep it, hon.
I had a $50 subtotal.
No, well, never mind.
It's fucking crazy. Like that. That's
I was thinking it was the other way around.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. It's just like, all the corporate raiders, and we're just going to use AI, and we're going to go through all these people's algorithms, and we're going to figure out what people are going to pay for what, and we're just going to remove all the artistry from finding ways to get people inside of buildings, finding ways to get people to events. We don't care. We're just going to fucking extract every single cent that we can from every single little thing. The show's a nice kind of human touch. We're going to reach across the aisle. We're going to meet you where you're at. And I do want to shout out our guy Greg Fritz, who leaves us a tip here for $4.99 for your first 12-ounce beer on him.
Oh, shout out Greg.
Very nice of you. I will be testing on that. Or we can split it. We can split it 5 ways as we do with everything else. So it'll be $1 for each of us, and then that's $1 off off of our first beer.
Yeah, we could do that. No, but again, I mean, I don't know how you're not excited about that, and that's just this needs to be a thing everywhere. Like, just because you're at a concert doesn't mean a beer should be $36.99 or whatever. Like, it's crazy. So good on the Orioles for finally getting on the the kind of bandwagon of changing things up, and because again, that's how you get more people in. If you can bring a family to a game, and again, you're not spending $11 on a hot dog and $15 on chicken tenders, and then $20, $22 combined on sodas and blah blah blah. The refillable soda. And now that the Orioles, Camden Yards, Coca-Cola, get off me. Come on. Like that's going to be, I may do like a 999 challenge just with Coca-Cola and see how many I can finish. Refillable.
Shout out to Herman Cain.
Why? What did he do?
999.
Did he do the 999?
Yeah, he did his own version of the 999. I don't think it was very successful though.
Oh, well,
And then
my dad also says they
unfortunately-
need to accept cash.
He unfortunately passed away from COVID, and then his account like tweeted something about after he posthumously tweeted something about COVID that was, I don't know, maybe, yeah, I don't know, some weirdness there with the end of Herman Cain's life. May he rest in peace.
R.I.P. Well, my first Coke will be for Herman Cain, 999. But yeah, so good for them. I'm pumped.
Absolutely. Another sort of fun bit of news, maybe a little bit of mostly here, as we would say, the Birdland Caravan. I know you're jacked up about this. They've got the Guinness Thursday, karaoke Friday, bowling Saturday lineup. What are the exact dates here? I don't have the information right in front of me.
It's what is Thursday? I'm looking at my calendar. Thursday the 30th. Again, it's like the Guinness, the happy hour at Guinness. Again, I'll be there. I hopped on tickets real quick. Everything sold out very quick. So again, people can say they're not excited about it. Every event sold out. So I don't know what to tell you. But that one is going to be Jackson Holiday, Ryan O'Hearn, Chase McDermott, maybe Brendan Hyde, Porn Brewskis. That's the 30th. What else do they? Public photo op, pop-up photo op in Frederick County. That's on the 30th. Happy hour at Guinness. Yeah, it's going to be Jackson, Chase, O'Hearn, Povich. That's right. Friday, there's a couple other things. You can meet and greet the Meat, MEAT, the hot dog mascots running around in Westminster, if you will. I will be at the karaoke happy hour at PBR in Baltimore. I could not tell you the last time. I think 2013, actually. I think I can tell you. I think that was the last time I was at PBR. So I will be there. This is a good one, too. Featuring Colton Cowser, Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Chase McDermott, Ryan Mountcastle, Ryan O'Hearn, Cade Povich, Adley Rutschman, Albert Suarez, Jordan Westberg. So, again, that one sold out very quick. I am very excited for that. I'm trying to figure out a way where Mountcastle and I can sing a little Dear Maria. So we're gonna try to grease some wheels and getting some stuff.
I've been a little busy the past couple of weeks. Was not able to secure a ticket. I'm wondering if maybe some palms can be greased, some wheels can be kind of, some squeaky wheels can be employed here to get me into the building to document that, because we will need, press on site to be able to necessary video and everything of you and future Met Ryan Castle.
I was told if this happens, it needs to be on video, and I will make sure things are on video. So that'll be a fun one. Again, I haven't been at PBR in years, over a decade.
I've never been there. It's next to Port Discovery.
Oh yeah, it's literally right near where we went to Adam's show last year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's in that. You're not missing a single thing. I promise you that, brother. I promise you.
It's right. The city police said, "Oh, it's Ram's Head." All right.
Yeah. Ram's Head PBR. There's like 5 different bars, and it's all in there. And then Saturday, I will be taking my daughter to the bowling experience in Columbia with Colton, Gunnar, Brandon, Hyde, O'Hearn, and Adley. So we're gonna do a little bowling. Get some group pictures and stuff there. And then there's a kids rally in Severn. I'm taking Joe to that one too. Colton, Gunnar, Hyde, O'Hearn, Adley. Saturday or Friday. Yeah, this is still Saturday. Pop-up photo op in Montgomery County. So they're kind of spreading it all out. Orioles play ball.
Big for you, because that'll be like the second or third rally that you've been to this year, right? Going all the way back.
Those were actual rallies. There was one a couple weeks ago that got canceled, but
it was moved indoors. You were inside.
Yes, it was moved indoors. It was very cold. I don't blame them. Mr. Splash and the Bird meet and greet in Pasadena, if your little heart desires. This one is going to be cool too at Bel Air Sports Cards on Saturday. Jackson Holiday, Chase McDermott, Cade Povich, ripping open some packs. Great sports card place up there if you haven't been. So again, it seems like they've condensed. I mean, a couple years ago, it seemed like there were 5 events every day, and I know people were racing from one to the other and trying to get as many places. But this year, I think they really were told the guys like, hey, we need some big names and we got to have you guys there. Again, everybody, there were like 4 weddings last year, all within like 2 weeks of this. So guys were on their honeymoon and getting married and the Ravens week and all that stuff. So this year, they kind of were able to spread it out and they went quality over quantity for the event. So I'm pumped for that. Again, it's kind of the sign that baseball is here and we're getting ready for it. And it'll be cool to see all the guys back and chat with them and see them mingling with the fans. So hope to see people out there.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully it'll be a little more peaceful. I know you had last time we were all together at one of these, you had a little bit of a situation at Checker Spot Brewery, might've been a scuffle or something that you were involved in. So hopefully
we were downstairs, brother. We stayed downstairs. We stayed in that back corner. You were right there with me. I was not a part of the fight upstairs. I don't know what that was. Lover, not a fighter.
So it was not Arditti that got into a fight at Checker Spot Brewery. I want to be very clear about that. Arditti was not involved in fisticuffs at the Checker Spot Brewery.
Absolutely not.
Season.
Absolutely not. Not me, brother.
Got the wrong guy. That's the Caravan. Very exciting stuff. And then last fun bit of little news that we had here was that this actually is kind of exciting. I haven't bought a physical video game in years at this point. I'm a digital boy personally at this point, but Gunnar Henderson will be gracing the cover of MLB The Show 25. He'll be on the right side along with Ellie De La Cruz in the middle there, and then Paul Skeens, just a fucking live wire that he is, just a bundle of energy. Paul Skeens on the left side of the cover.
Just the biggest bowl of vanilla tapioca pudding. I mean, my God, tapioca, not tapioca, tapioca. I mean, just the personality of a wet piece of paper. Just nothing there. Livy is as live as it can get, and he's just like, hey Gunnar, hey Ellie, I think I'm also on the cover of the game. Thanks. It's like, dude, just you need to tase him or something. He needs something to then. Even Connor Griffin on Mostly was like, that guy there was nothing there. Like, if Lucas was saying that he was awkward to be around. So if Lucas is saying that, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, it's very cool. Again, I haven't bought a physical video game either. I do I'm a digital boy through and through. But it's awesome that he's on it. I think for years and years and years, the Orioles never got any kind of publicity or like, here we are, in the media or marketing or anything, and now they're all over. So
I might get this one just with the digital code if you can do that, because I don't think my PS5 doesn't even have a disk drive. So.
Yeah, that's the one I have. My PS5 is just virtual, so I don't you don't buy the games. You can if you want. If you're Jeff D. Lowe and you still want to buy your DVDs and stuff, you can. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously gonna buy it. I put hundreds of hours into that game every year. So the Orioles, they're going to go, like 130 and 31 or something, like 32 or whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely getting the game. I'm pumped for it. It's funny. I tweeted from the Barstool Baseball account yesterday at like 1:30, being like, just out of nowhere. I was like, I'm got some downtime during work. And I tweeted and I was like, who do you want to see on the cover? And I put a picture of like Lindor, Gunnar, Skeens, and Bobby Witt Jr. And literally 2 minutes later is when Ellie posted his video. And Meek Phil was like, we got to take that down. People are going to think we're slow. People are going to think we're dumb. So it was, I don't know. I had an intuition or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be cool. And it's great. The game is great. But again, go out and support your guy Gunnar. And congrats to him for being on the front of a video game is fucking cool. It's really, like, growing up, that's one of the coolest things that could have ever happened. Like, you probably remember how pumped you were when Ray Lewis was on the cover of Madden 05.
That was like, yeah, I think that was the first Madden I like ever really made an effort to get into. And that was part of the reason. Like, I didn't really understand the idea of like playing sports video games at that point. I was probably only, I think I was 10 when that, one came out, and my brother got it obviously, but like we had it. I was like, fuck man, Ray Lewis is on the cover. That's really cool. So yeah. And then obviously that was one of the best Maddens of all time with the introduction of hit stick and all that. That was sick. Lamar being on the Madden cover, that was very cool too, because it's like, yeah, you got your Ray Lewis on there, but like the Ravens getting an offensive player on there, that was obviously huge. That was another big moment as well, which was really cool. Yeah, you're right though. I think it is a big deal, and it's funny, like it can grow your profile a little bit, because like I was reading some comments on it, and I don't blame these people at all, but some people were like, yeah, like I know who Ellie De La Cruz is. I don't really like watch any Reds baseball. Obviously, everybody knows Paul Skeens, but then I saw some comments like I thought that was like Matt Holliday's kid or something, but then like they have the name there. So I guess it's Gunnar Henderson. I don't really know who that is, but okay. It just kind of, I think it speaks a little bit to like where baseball is overall, but this could really help raise Gunnar's profile in a big way. So
yeah. I don't know. I think it's super cool. So that's, again, growing up, that's one of like the ultimate cool guy thing is like, I'm on the cover of a video game. That's all I ever wanted. And
is this the first Oriole to get on a show cover?
No, Cal was on it in like 99. I have the stand-up, the cardboard, like when you used to go to like the video game store and they had like the cardboard cutouts. I bought one on eBay for like $40 a couple years ago. I forget what it is. It's like MLB the game, or it's like MLB something 99. So yeah.
MLB All-Stars, maybe? Is that what it was?
Something.
Because I had one on N64, like maybe like 97 or 98 or something like that. Which they didn't really like do big covers for N64. They just had the box and the cartridge.
Melanie's friend, Jessica Kleinschmidt, who kills it. She's awesome for the A's. She tweeted it. Let me see. It was MLB 99. That's literally what it was.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, he's the second one. And somebody had tweeted it out, and they were like, Wei-In Chen was on the Taiwan version of the show in 2013. And I think Hyun-Soo Kim was on like the 2017 Korean version or something like that. So
cool.
Yeah. Put an asterisk next to those. But yeah, cool thing for Gunnar. Again, he's 23 years old and he's on the cover of a video game. He's kind of living life.
Saw some belly aching that Bobby Witt didn't get on there. I kind of get it. I mean, but maybe next year.
And listen. People want to argue and all that, the shredder, MLB's the shredder, named Gunnar, the number one shortstop in baseball. They put Bobby Witt fourth. Who are we to argue with math and science and rankings list? How about you just respect it and you move on from there? So I had a hard time blogging that with like a straight face, being like, listen, Bobby Witt's not the fourth best player in baseball. He's like a top 3 player. They named him the 4th best shortstop. That's crazy. But
yeah, I don't know who the shredder is, but they might want to call to the shred line and have Coach Gruden roast their ass on that one.
I respect the shredder. Okay. I don't know. You can't argue with science and math. So.
Right. All right. Well, that was the last item on the agenda there. Any closing thoughts here as we were 16, 17, 18, 14, not 14. However many days we are from pitchers and catchers officially and Arditti reporting to spring training down in Sarasota.
I'm getting there like a month after pitchers and catchers report. So March 6th through 9th. So I'll be down there then. No, I don't think so. Shout out the O's for doing their birthday shout out to Mo on Sunday. Shout out the Ravens for not doing it. Pretty cool move there.
I thought they did.
No, they haven't tweeted. Last thing they tweeted was like, Kyle Van Noy, go to the Pro Bowl games or something like that. I texted a buddy and I was like, am I being petty or is it shitty that the Ravens didn't do that? And he was like, you're just being petty.
Well, they still do the end zone thing. I mean,
Yeah, which is awesome. I do really enjoy that. I think that's cool. That could have been a very easy thing that they did for a year and then just let it go and been like, oh, we forgot. Sorry, we didn't do it. But that's cool. But tweet something out. But, if you're going to go radio silent, then whatever. I get it though. And my dad's watching. He texted me too. We talked about it a little bit earlier too, but the Brian Mattis thing was very sad. And you talked about it. Like the first player from, a lot of teams that people watch that died. And I was talking to someone who worked with the Orioles when he was there. And she was like, this is really hitting me. And it was like, yeah, this is a guy our age, this is a guy. And the quotes and the stories and everything were very sad. Where, I think he made like $20 or $30 million in his life and felt like he didn't have anyone to, that he was lost and didn't have anyone to turn to, and really sad stuff. I know the funeral, I think, was last week. And I think a couple of the old players went out there. So I was reading quotes from that, but very sad. Mattis was awesome. He was awesome to watch, especially carving up Big Papi and striking out Josh Hamilton in the AL wildcard game. And that was, he was not a great starter when he started, and he got a lot of shit. But when he transformed into the lefty killer on the mound, there was nothing more fun to watch than Ortiz trying to hit him. And he couldn't do anything. I mean, again, go look up the numbers. He was incredible. So that was very sad. Again, way too soon. Very, very sad stuff. And it sucks anytime you hear about something like that. So
yeah, if you read
Brian Mattis.
Yeah, if you read the details, it's really sad stuff, and I think it just kind of goes to show that you can't buy your way out of, feeling unhappy. You can't succeed your way out of that kind of stuff, because he was in a great place. Sounded like he did have a good support system, and things just unfortunately, took a turn for the worse, and he wasn't able to get out of it. So, if you're feeling that way or anything close to that, don't be afraid to reach out for professional help or anything like that, because it doesn't make sense. It's illogical that a guy like that, who a lot of people had a lot of love for and achieved a lot of things, and nobody had a bad word to say about after he passed, just goes to show that if you feel like you need help, reach out and get it.
Absolutely.
All-time jersey guy too, by the way.
I tweeted it. I said you weren't an Orioles fan if you didn't have the 17 jersey. I mean, they're everywhere. You'll see them at games everywhere this year. I mean, every single person had that jersey. So yeah, everybody. Yeah,
and going back to kind of them honoring those years of the team, I think it would be cool if they did something for him this year. I'm sure that's kind of already in the works. Maybe a patch or something like that, or like a day for him. I think that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Definitely moment of silence on opening day and all that stuff. So.
Yep, absolutely. All right, pal. Is that all we got here tonight?
I think so.
All right. Well, it was fun hopping in here, chopping up some Orioles for an hour or so with you. That was a lot of fun. We'll have plenty of Orioles content ramping up here. Got some comments, not only here in the YouTube, but I'm seeing on X, the Everything app, which, like I said, I've been taking a little bit of a detox from. But when I get onto these shows, I like to check in and see what's going on in the land of the Everything app about me not making my comments known, my feelings known on the Ravens loss. The scheduling has just been kind of tough. Like I said, I was on the road in lands far away. I was in a warm place with no memory, as Red and Andy would say, down in Mexico for that playoff loss. So, and just was working just absurd hours. Like I had to be up at like 3:30, 4 a.m. the next day. So I unfortunately could not make a appearance for that Ravens loss happen. Spenny's actually traveling right now doing some stuff. So we're planning on a kind of a full post-mortem podcast. We'll go deep into not only that loss, but I think the 2024 season as a whole later this week. So stay tuned for that for all our Ravens inclined listeners. Appreciate your patience. It's just it's hard to make the scheduling work out sometimes. But yeah, we'll be back for that. Be back with plenty more Orioles content in the meantime. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to us here on YouTube if you're not already. Maybe we'll get some Orioles giveaways going on this season. Did plenty for the Ravens. Spenny really loves to spearhead that kind of stuff. So I think, Eric, we'll be putting that on your plate. I think you're going to be the one. You'll be the project manager coming up with all the ideas, executing. I think we'll getting you selling tickets to people and, kind of being a way station.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Jesus. By the way, I do have to say this before we go. And again, we talked about it earlier, but Gunnar Henderson, I was informed by Mostly Sports. Gunnar Henderson was the first ever player in human history to sit on the O.J. Simpson Memorial Bench and appear on the cover of a video game in the exact same year. So
that's huge.
Wow. the graphic for it is great.
Yeah. I'm sure it's okay. I'm sure Blutman's going to get on the cover of some kind of video game at some point, so I'm sure that'll be quickly supplanted. But good to see there for our guy Gunnar. I saw he was mixing it. I haven't been keeping up on my yak and my Mostly Sports. I saw he was chopping it up with Che recently. Gunnar was, so yeah, it sounds like it's been a big off.
He showed his molars on the yak, and nobody had ever seen his molars before, except for maybe his dentist. So,
wow,
big things, big things. So, also, I think we're getting an Ebo and Connor Griffin appearance at Camden Yards this May. They're coming for the Gunnar and Colton Cowser Star Wars bobbleheads. So I was talking to Ebo about where to stay, what hotels. So maybe we'll do so. We got to get Ebo on the show. We have to.
Yeah, we should. I feel like he'd be he listens occasionally, so that would be good to get him on here. I'd love to maybe if the Orioles play the Phillies this season, maybe get Griffin on. I'd love to have him just go deep, 45 minutes to an hour about the Phillies, like cleanup hitter or whatever it might be.
We could do something like that. We'll make it work.
Yeah. But as I was saying, subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on social media at Exit 52 Podcast on X and on Instagram. I am at Jake Louque. That's LOUQUE. Eric is at EDITTI22. Spenny at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4 in the middle. Brian at Barstool Banks. Taylor at Taylor Smith 10. Thank you guys very much for hanging with us, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon.